1. Introduction. My name is Anna. I am 26 years old. I live in a small apartment in the city. My health is not good. I often feel tired and sometimes I feel dizzy. This means I cannot do very heavy work. I need to be careful with my body. I need special medicine to feel better, but it costs a lot of money. I do not have much savings, so I need a job with good pay. The money from this job needs to cover my medicine and my apartment rent. Finding such a job is not easy. Many jobs do not pay enough or they are too hard for me. I spent many days looking for work. I checked newspapers and online. One afternoon, I saw a job posting. It was for a maid. The advertisement said, "Looking for a maid. Good salary, must clean very well." The words "good salary" caught my attention. This could be the chance I needed. A maid's job can be tiring, but if the pay was good, it would be worth it. I hoped I could do the work. The job posting had a phone number. I felt hope and worry. I took a deep breath and decided to call. A man answered. His voice was deep and very cold. He did not sound friendly. This made me nervous, but I spoke. I told him my name and that I was calling about the maid position. He asked me a few short questions. Then he introduced himself. His name was Nick. He simply told me to come for an interview the next day. He gave me the address. The call ended quickly. After hanging up, I felt strange. I was still nervous because of his cold voice. But I was also excited. This job might be the answer to my problems. It could help me buy my medicine. I needed this opportunity. I hoped for the best. 2. The interview. The next morning, I went to Nick's house for the interview. It was not far from my small apartment. The air was cool, but I felt a little warm inside. I walked quickly, thinking about the job. I hoped it would be a good chance. I needed the money very much for my medicine. Soon, I saw the house. It was very big. It stood tall and white among other houses. The garden around it was perfect. There were no leaves on the ground. The windows shone brightly, like mirrors. Everything looked very clean, maybe too clean. It was like a picture from a magazine. There was no dust anywhere in sight. I walked to the front door and took a deep breath, feeling a mix of nerves and hope. I pressed the doorbell. After a moment, the door opened. Nick stood there. He was a tall man and he looked very serious. His face was handsome, but his eyes were very direct and focused. He wore a dark suit. On his hands, he had white gloves. This surprised me. He looked at me carefully, from my shoes to my hair. I felt a little nervous under his steady gaze. "Come in," he said. His voice was not cold like it was on the phone, but it was still very serious. I stepped inside. The house was just as clean inside as it was outside. There was no dust anywhere. No books were out of place on the shelves. No shoes were on the floor. He led me to a big living room. We sat on 2 simple chairs. He began to speak about the job. "This house must be clean," he said. "Always clean, every single day. You will clean it every 2 hours. No dust, no dirt, nothing out of place. Is this clear?" He looked at me with his direct eyes. I nodded my head. It sounded like a very hard job. I thought his rules were very strict. Then he told me about the pay. "The salary will be 3 times the normal pay for a maid," he said. My eyes opened wide in surprise. 3 times more? That was a lot of money. It was enough money for my medicine. It was more than I had hoped for. I still thought his rules were strange, but the money was very important. I needed it. "Do you accept?" he asked. I thought for a moment. The work would be hard, but the pay was very good. I needed to be healthy. This money could help me. "Yes," I said, "I accept the job." A small nod was his only answer. He stood up. "Good," he said. "You can start today. Your uniform is in the next room." He showed me a simple blue uniform. I changed my clothes quickly. I was ready to begin my new job. My new, very clean and very strange job. 3, the hard work. Each day I started cleaning early in the morning. I worked without stopping until late at night. The house was very big, with many rooms and long hallways. I cleaned every part of it. I used different cloths and sprays. I wiped down all surfaces, swept floors, and vacuumed carpets. I scrubbed the kitchen and bathroom tiles until they shined. I also cleaned many windows, making sure they were perfectly clear. Nick watched me closely. Every 2 hours, he walked around the house to check my work. He inspected every corner, every table, and every shelf. He would run his white-gloved finger over a surface. Sometimes, he found a tiny spot of dust. Then I had to clean that area again until it was spotless. This happened many times throughout each day. Sometimes he did not say anything. He just stood behind me, silently watching. His eyes followed my movements. This made me feel very nervous. I tried to work faster and more carefully when he was near. His silent presence was often more difficult than his words. The first day was hard. The second day was harder. By the third day, my body felt extremely heavy. My muscles ached. My arms felt weak, and my legs were tired from standing and moving for hours. I had very little time to rest, only a short break for food. I felt tired all the time. My head started to feel strange. Sometimes the room seemed to spin a little and my vision blurred. I knew I was pushing myself too much. I was not eating enough and I was not sleeping well. My health was not good and this job was making it worse. I felt weaker with each passing hour. One afternoon, I was cleaning the large living room. I felt a strong wave of dizziness. My vision blurred badly, and the room began to spin fast. I tried to hold onto a chair, but my hands were too weak. My legs suddenly gave out. I could not stand anymore. I fell down onto the soft carpet of the living room floor. Everything went dark. The fall. I slowly opened my eyes. Everything was a little blurry at first. I felt a soft cushion under my head. I was lying on the sofa in the living room. The last thing I remembered was feeling very dizzy and falling to the floor. My head still felt a bit light. Now I was here in a warm, quiet room. Nick was sitting very close to me. He was holding a wet towel. He gently put the cool towel on my forehead. His hand was warm and careful. He looked at me with a worried face. This was new. His usual strict and serious expression was gone. His face seemed softer, less cold than before. His eyes held a different kind of look, not one of judgment, but of concern. "You fainted," he said. His voice was quiet and gentle, not his usual cold tone. I tried to sit up, but I felt weak. My head spun a little. My body felt heavy. "No, rest," Nick said softly. He put a hand on my shoulder to stop me from moving. "Just stay there for a while." I lay back down, feeling very tired. Nick stayed by my side. He did not move. He just watched me for a few minutes. It was different from his usual silent watching when I was cleaning. This time, he seemed to truly care about my well-being. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was calm. After some time, he went to the kitchen. I heard some sounds, and then he came back. He brought a warm cup of tea. He helped me sit up a little and carefully gave me the cup. The tea was sweet and warm. It helped me feel a little better, slowly bringing back some strength. "I am very sorry, Anna," Nick said. He looked down at his hands, avoiding my eyes. "I pushed you too hard." "I did not think about how tired you must be. I am truly sorry for that." I looked at him. His words were a big surprise. I had never heard him apologize before. He always seemed so strong and in control. "It is okay," I said softly, taking another sip of tea. "I really need this job. The good pay helps me a lot with my needs." I did not tell him about my medicine directly, but he understood that I needed the work for important reasons. Then Nick looked away from me. His voice became very low, almost a whisper, as if sharing a secret. "I have a problem," he said. "I cannot stand dirt. When I see dust or something messy, my head feels like it is burning. It is a very bad feeling inside me. It takes over my thoughts." He paused, then looked at me again. His eyes looked sad and a little lost. "It makes me act badly sometimes. I am sorry for how I have been." I listened to him carefully. I thought about what he said. He had a sickness in his mind. He could not control this strong feeling about dirt and mess. It made him act in a certain way, always demanding perfection. That night, I understood something important. Nick was not just a very strict boss with strange rules. He was sick in his mind, just as I was sick in my body. We both had our own big problems that we struggled with every day. This thought made me feel a strange connection to him. It was a new feeling, a feeling of understanding and shared difficulty. I saw him not just as my employer, but as a person with his own deep struggles just like me. 5. A strange friendship. After that day, Nick was different. He changed his ways. He told me to rest more often. Sometimes he even helped me clean the big house. This was new. Before, he only watched or checked my work. Now he would pick up a cloth and help. We began to talk more. We talked about many simple things. We spoke about movies we liked and different kinds of food. We shared stories about our lives. It was strange but nice. I heard him laugh for the first time. His laugh was not cold like his voice used to be. It was a kind sound. One afternoon, he told me about his childhood. It was a sad story. He said his parents left him when he was a small boy. He grew up feeling alone. He also talked about his mother. She was very messy. Her house was never clean. This made Nick very unhappy as a child. He hated the mess. This was the reason he wanted everything to be perfectly clean now. His head would feel like it was burning if he saw dust, he had said before. Now I understood why. His past made him this way. I started to feel sorry for him. I saw that his strict rules came from a deep sadness. He was not just a difficult boss. He was a person with a difficult past. At the same time, he started to care for me. He asked how I felt. He made sure I ate my meals and rested. He sometimes brought me a cup of hot tea when I looked tired. Our friendship was strange. He was my boss and I was his maid. But we were also two people who understood each other a little. We both had our own problems. He had a problem in his mind, and I had a problem with my body. We found a quiet comfort in talking. One day, he looked at me seriously. He said, "Anna, you do not look like a maid to me. You look like someone who belongs here." I felt my face turn red. I did not know what to say back to him. His words were kind and unexpected. This new connection was growing slowly in the big, clean house. It was a quiet, strange friendship. It was not what I expected when I took this job. I only wanted money for my medicine. But now I felt something more. I felt a small bit of hope, not just for my health, but for something else too. 6. The shout. For several weeks, a new, gentle rhythm filled Nick's large house. The earlier tension slowly faded. Nick's face, once always serious, now often held a soft smile. He stopped checking my work every 2 hours. Instead, he would simply nod, trusting me. We talked more each day. He shared stories about his childhood, and I told him about my life and my illness. We found comfort in our talks. It felt like a true friendship was growing, like a rare flower. I started to feel less like a maid and more like a trusted friend. This felt good. I felt a sense of belonging in the clean, quiet house. Then, one morning, my body felt very heavy. I woke up with a dull ache in my head and a deep tiredness in my bones. My usual energy was gone. I cleaned the main rooms, the kitchen, and the living room. I swept the polished floors and carefully dusted every surface, but my mind was not fully clear. I moved slowly, feeling the weight of my illness. I walked past the small balcony outside Nick's office. It was a small space, usually easy to clean. Today, however, my focus was broken. I forgot to wipe away the thin layer of dust that had settled there. It was a simple, small mistake, but it would change everything. Nick came home earlier than usual that afternoon. I heard his car, then the front door open and close. My heart felt a small worry. He walked through the house, his steps quick and purposeful. He went straight to his office. A moment later, I heard him stop. Then his office door opened wide. His face was no longer kind. It was cold, hard, and full of anger. His eyes, once warm, were now dark and sharp. He looked at the balcony, then at me. "Anna," he shouted. His voice was loud, cutting through the quiet house. "You did not clean the balcony. There is dust here. You know I hate this." His face turned red with fury. I quickly stood up, my own face pale. "I am so sorry, Nick," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I felt very weak today. My head was not clear. I truly forgot." I tried to explain my illness, but he did not listen. He shook his head sharply. "No excuses," he shouted again, his voice like ice. "You know my rules. This house must be perfect." The friendly Nick I knew was completely gone. In his place was the strict, cold man from my first day. Tears welled up in my eyes. "I tried my best," I whispered, my voice breaking. He looked at me for a long, silent moment. Then, with a cold, hard stare, he said, "You are fired." The words were like a physical blow. My breath caught in my throat. I stood there, unable to move, as tears streamed down my face. All the hope, all the trust we had built, shattered in that instant. I turned slowly and walked to my small room to collect my few things. I did not look at Nick again. I walked to the front door, opened it, and stepped out into the afternoon air. I left the big house, my heart heavy with sadness and confusion. The warmth of our friendship was gone, replaced by a deep, cold ache. 7, the apology. 3 days later, Anna was still sad. She missed her job, even with the hard work. She missed Nick, too, in a strange way. She sat alone in her small apartment. The memories of Nick shouting were still fresh in her mind. Her heart still felt heavy, just like when she left his big house. She thought about her medicine and how she would pay for it now. The future looked unclear and difficult. Then there was a knock at her door. It was a soft knock, not strong like Nick usually knocked. Anna felt a little scared. Who could it be? She walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. She saw a man, but he looked different. His hair was messy, not perfect like always. His clothes were not neat. He looked tired. It was Nick. Anna opened the door a little. Nick stood there. His eyes were red like he had not slept well or like he had been crying. He did not wear his white gloves. He looked down at his shoes for a moment. Then he looked at Anna. His voice was quiet, not cold or angry. "Anna," he said, "I am so sorry. I was wrong, very wrong." Anna did not know what to say. She just looked at him. This was a new Nick. A Nick she had not seen before, not even when he cared for her after her fall. He looked truly sorry. He continued, "I went to see a therapist. I need help. I want to get better. I don't want to lose good people because of my fear of dirt. My anger was bad." "You did not deserve it." Anna felt a warm feeling in her chest. She understood. He was trying to change. He was trying to heal just as she needed to heal. She saw his pain. Nick held out his hand. In it, he had an envelope and a small bunch of colorful flowers. "This is your last pay," he said, "and these are for you. I hope you can take them." Anna took the envelope and the flowers. She smelled the flowers. They were beautiful. She felt tears in her eyes, but these were not sad tears. These were tears of relief. Nick looked at her, his eyes still red, but now with a small hope in them. "Can we be friends again, Anna?" he asked. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. Anna looked at the flowers, then at Nick. She nodded her head. She could not stop smiling. She felt light, like the heavy weight on her heart was gone. She forgave him. She knew it would not be easy for him to change, but his apology was real. It meant a lot. A new start felt possible, not just for her, but for him too. The mess on his hair and the redness in his eyes showed a different person, a human person, not just the strict boss. This was a good sign. She felt a quiet happiness. She opened the door wider, inviting him in, not with words, but with her smile. 8. A new beginning. Nick wanted to change. He started therapy every week, speaking to a doctor about his cleanliness problem. He worked hard to understand his feelings. He called me often, always asking how I felt and if my health was getting better. Sometimes he talked about his therapy, saying it helped him learn new ways to think and control his fear of dirt. This was good news, and I was happy for him. I also found a new job. It was easier than cleaning Nick's big house. I worked at a small office, helping with papers and answering the phone. The hours were shorter and the work was not hard. This job was much better for my health. I did not feel tired or dizzy every day. I could buy my medicine and had more time to rest. It was a good change. Sometimes I visited Nick at his house. The house was still very clean. Nick still liked things tidy. But the house felt different now. It did not feel cold. Instead, it felt warm and welcoming. Nick would open the door with a smile, invite me in, and make me tea. We would sit in his living room, which now felt comfortable. We talked for hours. We talked about many things, our day, books, and plans. We shared thoughts and feelings. There was no more tension or fear. It was easy to talk to Nick now. He listened carefully and spoke kindly. I felt happy when I was there. When I was with Nick, I felt a deep sense of peace. My life had been full of worry about my health and money. Nick's life had been full of worry about dirt. But now, things were changing for both of us. We were both getting better, finding a new way to live. This peace was a wonderful feeling. It was quiet and calm. It made me feel safe. One day, Nick looked at me with a soft smile. He said, "Anna, you cleaned my house, but you also cleaned my heart." His words were very kind. They made me feel special. I thought about what he said. Maybe it was true. Our friendship and his journey had changed him deeply. It had changed me too. I smiled back at him. It was a new beginning for us.